run this computer, and now I'm going to hit pause. There we go.
All right, well, with that, I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Education to order and ask everyone to stand where you are and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and again, let's see, Mr. Colabufo, since this is not the web portion, yeah, just making sure. So it'll work the same way for any guests that are in the meeting. We'll approve the meeting agenda in a minute here, but just so you have some time, if you're interested in addressing the board on any topics, there's a chat button. I think if you hover or move your mouse, you'll see it down at the bottom. Just type in your name and the topic that you'd like to address the board on, and we'll get to that just in a couple minutes here. In the meantime, I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda as stated. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Loyer. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, as with everything on these remote calls, it'll be a roll call vote. So Mr. Martin's a yes, Mrs. Fishman?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Loyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Hoyt?
Yes.
Mr. Patch?
Yes.
Mrs. Nickerson, if you're there, I don't know that you're there. All right, so we'll go without that for now, and I don't believe Mrs. Sundit was able to join us. So Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
All right, so motion carries. Pearl, so as I have it, we have 7 board members here. Mrs. Nickerson, Mrs. Sundit is not. Does that line up with for you?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move to the community open forum. I don't see anything in the text box, so.
Oh, there's one, Andy.
Oh, there we go, thank you. So we have a request from Bill Petrie to talk on behalf of the Central Square coaches. So Mr. Petrie will open up the line for you, and just as a reminder, it's limited to 3 minutes, but the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. And I just wanted to say on the behalf of the Central Square coaches, we'd like to thank everyone involved in making this MOU. We understand that these are unprecedented times and changes are inevitable. This agreement represents the reduction in the length of the season, but also takes into account the added responsibilities of coaching during a pandemic. The health and safety of our athletes will be first and foremost. We're aware of the other approaches to this situation, but feel that this agreement was made with the interest of all the Central Square School District members and its coaching staff. It reflects the efforts of a coach that a coach makes during the season, in the classroom, and outside of the season. We can't wait to get back to doing what we do most or enjoy most, pushing our players to their fullest potential and creating a lasting amount of school memories.
Thank you, Mr. Petrie. Appreciate your feedback for the board. And I don't see anything else in the open forum portion. So with that, we will move right into personnel. So I'll make a motion for item D1, instructional personnel. Can I get a second?
Second.
I had a second by Mr. McCarthy on that one. Connie or, well, no, sorry, I guess we don't have to open the link. Any discussion on instructional personnel? All right, being none, Mr. Martin is a yes. Mrs. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Loyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Hoyt?
Yeah.
Mr. Patch?
Yes.
And Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Can I get a motion for item E, which is the approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Central Square School District and the CSTA?
I'll make the motion.
I'll make second.
Mr. McCarthy with the motion. I believe it was Mr. Loyer with the second. Is that correct?
You bet.
All right. Let's open it up for discussion. And Tom, do you want to walk through it before we start
Sure.
discussion? Or?
Sure. So the way that we went about doing this, just kind of echoing the words that Coach Bill Petrie had said, that, coaching through a pandemic is not like coaching not through a pandemic, with temperature checks and the whole 9 yards, the added responsibility, and then the other pressures that it puts on our coaching staff, great coaching staff. So what we did was we looked at, rather than just doing a straight proportionate a prorate, because if we did that, then we would actually be penalized. We would be hurting the varsity and JV coaches, because the varsity and JV coaches, let's say for winter sports, are 12 weeks, we would move them to 6. Well, they're all 6. So then you would take modified coaches, and you would be only reducing theirs a week, possibly 2. So in doing that, there really would be no pay differential. And to be a varsity coach, I was a varsity coach for 2 sports, JV for 1. And before that, I was modified for 3 sports. So I know the difference between them, not downplaying modified. We need good coaches at all levels. But we felt that this was the fairest way to do it. We also chose to go 100% for the stipend, even though it would have been following the same math as the other ones. It would have been about 85%, given the differential in the spring between what normally is their season and then what it's going to be reduced to because of COVID. One of the reasons for this, the main reason was it was the spring coaches last year, that if we were to have a season, and this was the gentleman's agreement with the CSTA leadership, that if they opened up for any part of the season last year, even if it was like a practice and a game, we were going to pay them all full stipends. We kept thinking it was going to. I sit on the Section 3 committee. John Rathbun, we kept saying that they're looking to just like have a practice and a game for senior night. So we really felt that was going to happen. And Central Square's vote was that we would participate if they had spring sports. We wouldn't try to game the system to try to not pay people or anything like that, because that would hurt the kids and the coaches and the community that watches the kids. So what we are doing now with theirs being full for varsity and JV for the spring coaches, it makes them whole for the summer of 2019 and in the fall of 2019, when they did a lot of preseason work with their kids. This now, by making the varsity and JV coaches whole in the spring, that compensates them for the work that they had done. So I know that Lynn Dowler felt very comfortable with this. I heard that the coaches felt comfortable with this. And at the end of the day, we see how impressive it is at Central Square when we had all that data on coaching, sports, and for extracurricular activities. That could only be happened if we had the music instructors and the coaches. So nobody wanted the coaches to feel that they were slighted, the spring coaches, and we feel in a true partnership, this makes them whole, but it's also being respectful to the community, because when nobody's getting paid for anything that they didn't do. So the other coaches, again, the pro rate and then the percentage takes into account the level of pressures of what it's going to be in a shortened season. So it's probably going to be 3 or 4 games a week, which any coach knows that's also a lot more stress. So as a district, we felt comfortable with this, and I had gotten feedback all Saturday from Lynn Dowler on this and early this morning, and we feel it's a win-win.
All right, so we'll open it up to the board for questions or comments.
This is Tim McCarthy. I'd just like to make a comment. First and foremost, Coach Petrie, thank you for your words and comments. I know I believe you know this, but publicly, you hold a ton of respect for my perch. So when you say something, it holds a lot of water. So thank you for those words, Tom, and everybody involved. Thanks for the efforts to put this to closure. And I do believe the best win-win we could have come up with given the circumstances. So thank you to all, and let's get the kids playing.
Other questions or comments? So, Tom, I wanted to ask, so in looking at the spring sports, just walk through the rationale again on, I understand the rationale of what you stated on the 100% for JV and varsity. Why 80 for modified?
So if you look, that's a regular straight pro rate. So if you look at what the season would have been, Connie, if you want to open up that link, no, the one below it, the actual MOU. There it is. Make that a little bit bigger. I don't have my cheaters down here. Scroll down, Connie. Yep, keep going to the next page. And right there. So the other coaches, Andy, normal length of the season for them. So again, the normal length was 10 weeks. It's going to be 8 weeks. Or straight up pro rate would be the 80%. The varsity and JV coaches are the coaches that are the ones that are involved in preseason and summer work. So in talking, with Jim Dranzak, we felt that it was fair to do that. It was the varsity and JV coaches that had done things in the summer of 2019 and in the fall that they would have been compensated had Cuomo allowed us even one practice and one game in the spring of last year, and that didn't happen. So by the 100% for the varsity and JV makes them whole for those efforts of running their program in the offseason.
So I have, and by the way, I think good work on everyone getting this all together. I'll simply state my concerns on this would simply be that I think we're going back in time and adjusting something that has passed, which I think can be a slippery slope. And the other thing is, Tom, doesn't this set some sort of precedence, or we're assigning, basically saying that 20% of the duties fall into that quote kind of off-season benchmark by doing this? Do we consider that a risk or anything to that?
Nope, because we already have an MOA with the teachers union that is off-season work is 15%.
Hey, Andy, this is Mike. Can
Yep.
you hear me?
Yep.
I really think, and I'm on my phone. I don't see all the data you have in front of you, but I really think that us, the admin, and the teachers, or the coaches, we have to look at this as a one-time. This is a one-time deal. Anybody that's going to extract a precedent out of this, I think that's just out of bounds. Let's just look at this as a one-time deal. We'll get it done. Tom put a bunch of work into it. I did a little bit. Christy did a bunch. The coaches did a bunch. That's just my 2 cents. I don't think we need to look at this as a precedent, and anybody who comes back on it, don't even bother.
And we also have an MOA already in place that moving forward, off-season work has been recognized as 15%.
If I can just jump in for a second too, I do believe that there has been some seasons that did take place this school year that were only 8 weeks, which is what the spring sports season is going to be, and normally have a longer season, and they did get paid 100%. So I think in terms of consistency, I think that would be fair as well. And at the same time, I don't know about it being the 20%, Andy, just because earlier I think Tom had said with the little bit of the bonus that he was giving to the varsity and JV for the, not on the sidelines work that they do, counseling the students preseason, postseason, off season, the extra stress and pressures. With that boost, they wouldn't have been a straight pro rate at 80. I think he said it would have been 85 or 90. So really that's only assigning a 10%, so to speak. And so I'm not sure that 20% would really be the fair number anyway. And and as he said, the MOA that has it set at 15 anyways is about right anyway.
And Tom, are there any, and I apologize, I didn't have time to do this before this because of the short time frame, but are there any changes from the spring 20 coaching staff to the spring 21 coaching staff? So, because obviously if we're going back, part of this is to adjust for what was, we were unable to do last year because of circumstances, but are there any changes so someone would be getting a quote bump that wasn't even a participant last year?
Jim Dranzak, I don't believe so.
I'm trying to think right now. I don't think so either. Not that I can think of. No,
Well, no, not at the varsity and JV level.
Right.
So, and that's who's getting the bump. So
right.
No.
Not that I can think of. No.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we'll go ahead with the roll call vote. Mr. Martin's a yes. Mrs. Fishman,
Yes.
Mr. Loyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hoyt,
Yes.
Mr. Patch,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. And Connie or whoever's controlling the screen, if you can go back to the agenda, I think we're at the end on that one. We just want to make sure. All right, great. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
And I'm sorry, I have no idea who that was.
Mike.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, Mr.
Mike.
Any discussion on adjourning? Mr. Martin's a yes. Mrs. Fishman,
Yes.
Mr. Loyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hoyt,
Yes.
Mr. Patch,
Yes.
and Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
All right, well, great. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, everyone. Thanks to all the staff for joining on the weekend. Sorry for the rush, but I think you understand the timing. And I think we speak for all the students and parents that say we can't wait to see the kids, even if it is virtually for most of us, out there on the courts or the fields or whatever it is. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
I had to say thank you to everybody, by the way. I just want to say thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mr. Dranzik.
Have
Have a good night, all.
Everybody.
Good job, everybody. Good job.